All right, and we are recording. So this demo, sneak peek demo, is going to be what I'm going to be showing fully in ECS, European Collaboration Summit in Wiesbaden, Germany, in 3 weeks. And it's something I've been working on for maybe a month or so now, where I've been toying around with assistants and GPTs, mainly playing in the realm of OpenAI and doing custom GPTs in OpenAI, but then now thinking, oh, well, how can I put that into an assistant? And how can I do an assistant in OpenAI and do an assistant in Semantic Kernel? And how can I also, action Microsoft Graph and talk to M365 data? So this actually ties a lot of that together. So let's start on. I'm actually using Azure Functions as basically the engine to do a lot of this. So I have an Azure Function durable function. So starter functions, an orchestrator, and some activity functions. And I also have these little logs that I have here going. If I can get this thing to play, there it is, to play nicely. Orchestrator and some activity functions for you to see a little bit later on. And that Azure function basically calls a weather API. It's easy to just use that as a test case because it's just a key that it needs to work. So this ChatGPT custom GPT is going to communicate with that Azure function. So I'm telling it now, and it's to basically give me an attire, knowing where I am and where I'm going. So I'm saying I am in let's do VN, no. Let's do McLean, Virginia, and I am going to, let's use Green Bay, Wisconsin for 4 days, leaving tomorrow. Okay. If I didn't say leaving tomorrow, it'll want to ask me when I'm leaving. So the first thing it's going to do, because it's communicating with an Azure function, it could be a destructive action. It asks you to confirm. Now that I've confirmed this, it's going to start to paint the result back after now communicating. It says talking to Azure function. Then it's going to say talked in the past tense because it's already done. And it's going to start painting. And now it's telling me, going to Green Bay, Wisconsin from the 21st, which is tomorrow, to the 25th. And it's telling me now, the temperature is going to be 41 degrees overcast around. And it's giving me a range for the second day, which is basically 36 to 58 degrees. We want to hold on to that one because I'm going to ask that question in the other one. And it's done painting right here. So we'll come over here. You can actually see the Azure function being called. You can see the orchestrator kicking off. You can see it's calculating the weather. You can see here it's saying McLean, Virginia to Green Bay, Wisconsin as well. So we have some assurance that that is working. Nothing up my sleeve. Let's now take a look from the perspective of the assistants. Now, to do that, let me actually come over here and show you that we're working with this assistants API. Notice it's called, the end of the ID is called 7 David. It actually has some instructions as well using GPT 3.5 Turbo. The crux of this is actually this function definition, which is, you consider it like a schema, if you will, that this is what the assistant is expecting to get in order to use this function in order to do something else. So now that we've have that out of the way, let us go over here and we're going to now be in the realm of the assistants API, doing this inside Python this time instead of .NET. So run through this guy here, load my variables, get my keys, load my client. You notice it says 7 David, that is my assistant. These are just some helper functions along the way that we're going to play with. And now we're going to say we're coming from, where did we say? We did say Herndon, right? We did say McLean, Virginia to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Same McLean. And we're going to Green Bay, Wisconsin. And let's go ahead and hit this. So McLean, Green Bay, we can see coming back to the location for Green Bay. And now we're going to get our forecast, which is similar to what we did before. This right here is exactly what it needs to see in terms of the schema for what the function is expecting. This is what we're going to send to the assistants API. So now we're going to call our assistant. You can see it's a 7 David assistant right there with all of the information there. And then we're going to also start a thread for us to do a communication with. And I'm going to say, how should I pack for my second day? That's the one that gave us that range before. It comes with the information here as well. And now we're going to check. Notice it doesn't tell us about the tooling right here. So it's going to say if I run this guy here, which is basically to find the status, it's going to come back and tell me that I've required action for a tool. The tool is basically the function in the assistant that expects to get that payload. And now that that is done, I need to grab this call ID here because these calls are all different and replace it with this one here, Control V. I'm going to run this, and this is now bringing me back everything that I need for my Green Bay. You can see it there with all of the temperature stuff. And it tells me it's successful already, so I know it's actually going to work. But now we want to see it in some human readable format. And we do this, and now we see that it says the weather forecast for Green Bay on your second day, and it tells us it's basically 35 degrees in the morning, 36, 38, 3 p.m., 50 something, 7 degrees in the afternoon, and it gives some overcast and so on and so forth. So let's fact check this with this one for the second day. We can see it 30, yeah, there it is, so 30 to 50. So we know that this is, and it's telling us how to dress for the attire. The next step to take this basically is going to, and this is something I did in Texas a few weeks ago, is actually to also use a GPT to call Microsoft Graph. And the idea is to actually tell Graph to actually take some action on this, like emailing this to somebody else. So for that, you have to come to the session and see it. But this is basically a synopsis, 6 minutes with, I think, a 1 hour session. So hopefully I'll see you there. You can see it's going to be jam-packed with fun.